Welcome to another episode of The American Dream, the only show of its kind going against the grain of all that negative nonsense that you see in the media, where our goal is to educate, empower, and engage the mindset of your American dream. Throughout this week, we've compiled some awesome interviews, national guests that I know you're going to absolutely love, but also in every market that we launch this show, we integrate local market advice from your own backyard. Great show lined up for you. Let's get it started right now. Every single day, you are consumed with information. With the 24/7 negative news cycle and the pop culture that's polluting the airways, all selling out for the ratings game. Well, guess what? There's a more positive way to look at life. You live in the greatest city in the greatest country on the planet. Every day with our elite network of professionals, our goal is to educate, empower, and engage. And now it's time to fight for your American dream. Now for the word on the American dream. In 48 hours, more content is created than the history of man up until 2003. What a fascinating time that we do live in. Really fine line, though. On the one side, you got to love the connectivity of online social media. You can connect with people you went to high school with, friends, family. You can even start a business online without even interacting with real people. That's kind of cool. Saves you a lot of time. Time's our most valuable asset. On the other side, I think people are going crazy. There's an obsession with our laptops, with our iPhones, and you got to be really careful, especially if your parents out there. So what a fascinating time that we live in. I think that it's the best opportunity in the history of mankind to aggregate attention, build business, and keep a storyline of yourself online and connect with others. But we got to be really careful that you still got to get outside, right? You got to get outside, meet with people. I just mentioned business. All business is relationally driven. So don't ever forget how important real life, real relationships are. But today, we're going to be talking about that digital world. Let's start the interviews right now. In a digital world, this is an absolutely fascinating topic. You heard of Bitcoin. We're going to go deep on this, and we're going to go quick. We got Ty Zen, CEO of Cryptocurrency Market. Ty, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us here.
David Fong, you are the COO. So CEO, COO. You guys just said to me coming into the show that you believe we're on the verge of the biggest bull market in the history of humankind. That's a bold statement. Why do you say that?
Absolutely, we say that, and we have a firm belief about that on our team, simply because Bitcoin this is the first time in human history that the playing field has been leveled for Main Street. So now the little guys like us on Main Street can have the same profit potential and the same gains that the guys on Wall Street have been doing for decades now.
How is that?
Because Bitcoin is a permissionless.
That's probably the first question I should have asked for anyone who doesn't know. What is Bitcoin? I mean, we've heard of it. It's a currency of some sort, like an online currency?
Yeah, it's an online. Bitcoin is a technology. It's a public ledger technology that anyone can access and read it themselves if they have the correct software, which is easily downloadable from bitcoin.org. And what happens is when you access that ledger, you think of Bitcoin as a public network, like the highway network. It's called Bitcoin, and the cars and the vehicles that move through that network is also called Bitcoin. And the traffic laws that govern how those vehicles can move through the network are also called Bitcoin. That was the confusion that Satoshi Nakamoto created when he first invented Bitcoin and released it to the public. And right now, those vehicles that are moving around the network are being used as a currency because it's the most secure way on the planet right now to move units of a currency around. Much safer than the euro, the pound, the yen, or the US dollar.
So how does this help the average guy or gal out there?
Well, there's only a limited number of Bitcoins that are available on the planet right now. There will only ever be 21 million units ever created, right?
Well, with that, you can have a value assigned to it.
Yeah, you can assign a value to it, and each Bitcoin, I want your audience to know that each Bitcoin can be chopped up into 100 million units. And so you don't have to necessarily buy one Bitcoin or half a Bitcoin, you can buy a fraction of it.
Ty, right? Do you understand why this is confusing to people?
Yeah.
Why do you think we're on the verge of the greatest bull market?
It's the greatest bull market is because of the limited supply. There's only 21 million. The more people that use it, the value of it can only go up. So if you want to get it right? There's only a limited number of supply. It's not like the U.S. dollar where they print new U.S. dollars every month or every year.
Beyond that, for human history, you talk about bull markets. There was the tulip boom. That was isolated in Holland, right? We've had our stock market booms, the internet boom, but this is the first time that across the entire globe, everybody, China, Japan,
global.
Russia, right? And people are interested in this asset class that is a limited supply, serves an incredible need.
Globally, so does it kind of go across currency lines where you have different currencies of different countries? This is 21 million global.
Yes.
Global.
Yeah, and it's not restricted. Like, for example, like the U.S. dollar is dominant across the world right now.
Yep.
But there are still some countries, like I come from Vietnam, and there's still people that they can't send money out from Vietnam. Like they want to trade the American stock market, they cannot come and buy Apple stocks. The government won't let them, right? I used to talk to Forex brokers. I used to trade Forex, and the Forex brokers, when I asked them, hey, how come you guys don't have a Forex brokerage firm or a currency brokerage firm in Vietnam? They say because the government there won't let people put money into it. So with Bitcoin, it doesn't matter if a government or authority gives you permission or not, right? You can access the Bitcoin network. Everyone has access to it.
What do the governments think of Bitcoin?
Right now, there are some governments that are hesitant about it.
Let's talk about the U.S. government.
The U.S. government, I don't have any evidence that they are for it or against it. I know that our securities lawyer in Dallas, he commonly sends us information about what the SEC is doing. They created a task force to pay attention to this, and they are looking at it, to make sure. They're not trying to stop it. They're trying to make sure that everybody follows the rules and the government guidelines.
Real quick, got about 20 seconds. Tell us about your organization. You're the COO. Go ahead.
So we are the first and most popular YouTube crypto investing channel.
That we know of.
That we know of. That's right. So we basically want to educate people. We started out just trying to tell people about what this innovation is, why it's revolutionary, and that was just our friends. And instead of just having these one-on-one conversations, over and over again, we put it up online, and we said, hey, go check that out. You have any questions? Give us a call.
So now you guys have basically got your own information channel on YouTube where people can get more information on this. And let's part with that. If you have questions about this, if you're an investor, if you're just an everyday guy or gal out there and you want to learn more about this new wave happening digitally with currency, it's really a fascinating topic, and it's only going to get bigger. Check these guys out on YouTube, and more of the American Dream coming up next. Welcome back to the American Dream. Today we're talking about the impact of that new world of digital, which can mean a lot of things, but online, social media, it's just a crazy world out there. I don't think there's anybody to come into the show and talk about it than Daniel Hindi, who's the CTO of BuildFire. What's up, man?
Thank you for having me on.
This topic is right up your alley, man.
Yep.
This is your wheelhouse.
Yep.
So what do you think of the world we live in right now?
So as you can see, everything is becoming more and more digital, more and more artificially intelligent. And that's always a big topic nowadays with machine learning and deep learning and so on. And
what do you mean by that?
So you'll see a lot more topics coming up about machine learning. What does that really mean? It's basically trying to understand patterns that exist in our world. Right now, you look at a cup and you recognize that to be a cup, even though there's no solid definition for that. It's not necessarily glass, it's not necessarily cylindrical, it doesn't necessarily have a handle, but you've seen enough of them to recognize a cup. So what we're doing is we're getting computers to be able to have that same intelligence through machine learning. So great, so how do you work with that with business?
Yeah.
So what's a business application for that? You'll see a lot of image recognition, but also behavioral recognition. So for example, every business has a website. We have analytical data that tells us how long somebody's been on the site, what pages they go to, where they came from, and then post facto, we do the analysis. With machine learning, if you gather enough sample data of previously visited behavior, you can tell before the user leaves the site whether they're going to convert from a user to a customer. And let's say it's a negative outcome, you can give them a promotion, you can change the pricing, you can take them to a different page, you can try to modify their behavior.
It's just going to become scientific from a consumer businesses selling to the consumer.
Absolutely, and it's going to become much more retail, where the small guys can compete in this market as well, as you see emerging SaaS companies offer this to e-commerce platforms and so on.
So for the people watching, is this going to be something that's become more annoying or more efficient? You know what I mean? Like you mentioned pop-ups. Sometimes you go online, you just want to find something, some information. Next thing you know, you're on an email drip campaign. It drives you nuts. You got to unsubscribe every day to keep your email inbox from blowing up. Do you think that this is going to make things better for people or even more annoying?
There's two sides of that coin. I mean, you can see from anything from push notifications to drip marketing campaigns on email. People who abuse it, there's a negative effect. People are just going to unsubscribe and leave. So finding that fine balance. With machine learning, you're not going to see it coming. Because you haven't seen the other possible outcomes. You just saw your outcome. So it's going to be a little bit more incognito.
Interesting. Now, you talked about artificial intelligence. What about virtual reality?
So with virtual reality, you're going to see a lot more application for that in the utility realm. Right now, everybody's thinking retail, which is great in games and helping people shop and get an experience, a virtual experience. Well, with utility, if I look at a particular engine and see a virtual representation of it and see the flaw in it without having to dismantle it, there's huge ramifications for that and cost savings in the utility.
Where are we at in 5 years? What's it going to look like? When I'm interviewing you on this show in 5 years from now, are you even going to be sitting here? Is it going to be a hologram of Daniel Hindi?
You'll see a lot more augmented reality where the bleed between the digital realm and the real world the lines will start blurring. Wearables will be a lot more sleek, less noticeable. Voice is going to be big. Everything is now watching us. Well, now everything's listening into what we're saying and how we're saying it. And unfortunately, you're going to see a lot more ads, subtle ads, come your way.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, that's what drives it, right? Is the money behind it, the revenue?
If it's free, that means you're the product.
Yeah. Very good. Build Fire, you guys are actually helping businesses build applications. I want to give you a nice endorsement here.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone going into the new year, who should be reaching out? Who's your ideal
You go to buildfire.com. Our artificial intelligence will pick up the right person to set you up with any business needs that you need in the digital realm, whether it's a mobile app, a back-end service, website, whatever it may be, we can help you with.
You guys are leaders in the space. Thanks for coming on the show. What a fascinating topic.
Thank you.
All right, man. Okay, more of the American Dream coming up next. Joining us on the American Dream, he is a radio show host on ESPN. He's been a regular on our program. Aran Sinai, the elite expert when it comes to this digital world as it pertains to you as a consumer, things like identity theft and credit. Aran, good to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
How's a radio show? When am I coming on that radio show?
I think you're on January.
Is it booked?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay,
I think
good.
you even confirmed.
All right, good.
So,
you know what I want to talk about on that
tell
show?
me.
Your Bitcoin story.
I don't know if
I
I'm
always do
ready
this
to
to you.
explain. That's embarrassing.
Come on, tell it, man.
Well, back in 2011, I'm not going to say how much, but it was about $1 for Bitcoin. I bought thousands of them, right? And
So you did just say how much.
no,
for anyone
a
who
few, not.
So Bitcoin was $1.
Yep.
You're a seasoned professional. You've done well in your life. You bought thousands of dollars worth. Okay.
Yeah, and then it jumped to 31, right? So I was very happy, and I thought I was on the right track.
Hit the register button. Cash out.
No, I'm waiting. I'm thinking I'm waiting.
He's getting greedy. Pigs get slaughtered.
That's right. And then Silk Road came up. A few other events in the world happened, and it crushed to $2. It went down to $2.
But you bought it $1. You're still up.
That's right. So, but at that point, I'm talking to a lot of financial experts, and I'm thinking, what do I know? I just got to listen to those that said that this will never work. And I literally freak out, and I sell every bit of it. So I doubled my money, but...
Hey, good job. What is Bitcoin now?
What is it, about $1,700? So figured a few thousand of Bitcoin times 1,700. I'm not sure I'll be sitting, I might be hosting you on my beach resort.
The island that you own. You would move your radio show to be hosted from an island. It would officially become a podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man, that hurts. I got my own Bitcoin story, but not that bad. And we don't need to share mine. So we're wrapping up here, going into 2018. We'll help people be on the right track when it comes to their finances, things like their credit. Today we're talking about the digital world. What advice would you give to any of our viewers here today about protecting your identity, optimizing your credit scores? What advice can you give?
You know, it's a great point. I think we always focus on the bad things and the negative, right? Because unfortunately, that's
the way of the world, right?
The way of the world. So let's, on the positive side, look, we are in the digital world. We have a lot of access, more than we've ever had, to anything we want. Take advantage of it. Go to confirm and check that you're all okay with your credit. Go pull a copy of your credit. Go make sure you're okay. Go to your bank and make sure that if you travel, alert the bank, so whenever you travel, your credit card company knows you travel.
I've learned that.
You've learned that, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not in a different state, they will stop charges. Make sure that you monitor your medical bills. It's the end of the year. Get a statement and make sure that all the charges of your medical are yours.
My advice to you would be pay attention.
Right.
Look at that credit report. Keep your bills. Be organized about this stuff, because when these things happen, you want to be prepared so you don't have to deal with the financial stress it can cause. You can visit Iran online. This is what they do. This is what they specialize in. idcybercenter.com. He's been coming on the show for so long now and helped so many people improve their credit scores, protect from identity theft, including me. I had an ID theft a couple of years ago. Smooth sailing with you. Iran Sinai, cheers to 2018, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Same for you. Thank you.
All right, more of the show coming up next. So you just watch all these national interviews, but on a show called The American Dream, of course we got to dive into the real estate market. We have handpicked the best top producing realtors in your market to give you advice out of your own backyard. Let's go see what they have to say.
Welcome back to The American Dream. My next guest is a real estate veteran, and we are thrilled to have him on the show for his very first time here on The American Dream. Please welcome Joe Bryson, or as he is lovingly known, Condo Joe. Joe, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So, Joe, you're an old pro. You've been in the real estate market in Austin for over 30 years. What do you think the market is looking like now for 2018?
I have been in this market for a long time. All these buildings behind me were non-existent when I started in this business, but we've just gone through 7 years of appreciating prices in Austin, Texas, and the last 7 years have been quite incredible. The question that most buyers are going to ask, am I buying at the top of the market? Because they don't want to do that. And sellers want to know, should they sell at the peak? And my feeling is Austin is such an awesome city. We are just on so many top 10, top 5 lists, and the economy is just doing gangbusters here. Last month, the unemployment rate was 2.4%, which is about as low as you can get. And so we're still adding 100 to 200 jobs a day in this town. And it looks like the economy is just going to keep going great in Austin. So for buyers, are they buying at the peak? I don't think so. I think we've got years and years of appreciation still to come. And for sellers, they're not at a peak that they need to sell, but if they ever are considering buying a move-up home, they probably should be thinking about that seriously now, because this city is definitely appreciating at a rapid rate.
Do you think that with prices appreciating at this rate, buyers are gun shy about purchasing at the top of the market?
There are buyers that are very gun shy, but like I said, the economy has no indication whatsoever of turning down. And even in the down economies, the last 2 recessions we've had, 2001, we had the dot bomb. Austin is pretty dependent upon the tech industry, so that affected us somewhat. But during that entire time, from about 2001 to about mid-2004, prices didn't really go down in Austin at all. They just kind of stayed the same. Right about the average price in those days was about $200,000 in Austin. And then 2005, it started to go up pretty quickly to about 2007 when we had the credit crunch. And at that time, you know, the economy all across the United States was struggling, but Austin still was just kind of stayed flat for about 3 years. And then starting in about 2010 to now, 2017, we've gone up, you know, anywhere from 10 to 20% per year. And we're now average price. I mean, people talk about median price a lot, but I think people understand average prices. But average price in Austin's right at $400,000 now. Whereas, you know, 10 years ago, it was almost half that. That shows you kind of how rapidly the prices have been appreciating in Austin. So I don't think there are buyers that are worried, but I really don't think they should be worried because the future looks very bright for Austin, Texas.
Well, that's certainly good news. And Joe, we have so much more to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about why you are called Condo Joe. I want to talk to you about the seller's take on all of this. Unfortunately, we are out of time, so you're going to have to come back on the show with us, okay?
I would like to do that. I'd like to talk about the condo market in detail. I think it's an interesting part of the Austin economy or business because that's where people have to be, is downtown. If you're going to, in a condo, if you're going to be able to afford living in this city, you're going to be looking at condos. And if you do, I'm your guy.
You certainly are. Well, Condo Joe, Joe Bryson, top producer in the Austin market, thank you so much for being on The American Dream.
Thank you, Jen. See you soon.
See you soon. And if you have any other questions, reach out to us online or follow us along on social media. We always love connecting with our audience. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of The American Dream.
Hey, Craig Sewing here, your host of The American Dream. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I want to invite you to engage in the conversation outside of the show. How do you do that? Visit us online and on social media. We have so much activity happening there. Full interviews, resources, all kinds of cool stuff that you can engage with us and our conversation and help support the American Dream, where we're combating all that negative stuff you see in the media. But don't forget, I also want to be your #1 consumer advocate, so anything we can help you with, finance, real estate, mortgage, tax planning, estate planning, even credit scoring, we have the resources and the relationships that we can help you. Visit us online, engage in the conversation on social media, and don't forget, we want to empower your American Dream, so reach out if you ever need anything. Thank you so much for tuning into the show, and thank you so much for following us on social media and engaging in the conversation. Cheers to your American Dream. As you know, The American Dream is a national show, but all housing markets are local. Let's visit one of my favorite cities in Austin with top producing, award-winning realtor, Paul Reddam. Paul, how are you?
Of course, it's an honor to be here.
So, Paul, I know you work with buyers and sellers. I want to break this down so you can give us advice for everybody going into 2018. Advice for buyers, sellers, and even investors. So what advice would you give for buyers?
Sure. So I think everybody in all three categories really need to think about who they are, where they want to go, and what they need to do to get there. For buyers, I think the very first step is really to get with a really great lender and get pre-qualified, have their credit run so that we can discover any underlying issues that they may or may not know about, and to figure out, get comfortable with what they might be spending to get into a home and then to afford that home.
Okay, how about the other side of the equation? What advice would you give for sellers?
Well, sellers, you know, we have a very long and pretty serious pre-marketing plan. What I generally recommend for people when they're starting out selling their home is a pre-inspection. And the idea behind that is that we can disclose to buyers what we find in the home. If there are things that are easy to fix, you know, like caulking and sealing and changing out air filters, things like that, people can go ahead and get that done. And we can also identify any sort of deal breakers. So those are always good to get well in advance.
So, Paul, what if people are looking to sell in the future? Maybe not right now, but call it 6 months out. What advice would you give?
I think education is king. Everything we do in this business really revolves around getting smart about what you're doing, having a plan in advance. You know, for buyers, we really like to see them get with a lender even way ahead of time so they're not surprised by things. And for sellers, we like them to start doing home preparation things ahead of time, like the pre-inspection, like staging. We don't generally like to do pictures way in advance because things may change over time as far as the season goes, but we do like to do all the upfront stuff.
And with such a big decision, how do you set clear expectations?
Well, that's a great question. I think experience does a lot of that, and you just kind of know the ways of the road. For example, in certain neighborhoods, certain issues come up very often, over and over again. So I think it really depends on the situation, the age of the home, the neighborhood it's in, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's a great reason to come and talk to a good, experienced realtor, whether it's me or somebody else in the Austin, or I guess this is a national show anywhere in the country.
Paul, I want to switch gears. Let's talk about investors. What advice would you give them this year?
For clients, for example, who are wanting to create wealth, what we'd like to look at is how much they owe on their home and what their home is worth. And if that difference is 50%, say for example, you owe $300,000 on your house and it's worth $600,000, we like to look at reallocating their portfolio, the homes that they have or the properties that they have, and maybe getting them more so that they can be more leveraged into the market and not have it cost them any more money, because we'd use a product called a 1031 exchange that completely removes any need to pay taxes.
Well, this is why Paul Reddam is the man. He's an award-winning realtor out of a great city of Austin. If you have questions, make sure you reach out to Paul. Truly appreciate him as a professional. Thanks for coming on the show, Paul.
Hi, Penny Green here with Synergy One Lending. I'd like to talk to you today about a little bit of good news in the housing market. Just announced today, the Federal Housing Finance Agency announced that they'll be increasing the conforming loan limits. For the last 10 years, we've had a frozen loan limit of $417,000 during the downturn of the housing market. This year, we raised that to $424,100. And now, due to the robust market continuing, we've been able to raise it again to $453,100, effective January 1st, 2018. So you're probably asking, what does that mean to me? Well, it allows you to now borrow more money at a lower interest rate due to the fact that it's a conforming loan and not a non-conforming loan, which typically carries with it higher interest rates. So that is good news to everybody in Austin, Texas. Thanks a lot.
All right, that's all for today's show. I hope you enjoyed not only our national interviews, but you got advice out of your own marketplace. If you have any questions and you want to reach out, find us at AmericanDreamNetwork.tv. And don't forget, you can follow us on social media there as well. Love to hear from you. Thank you for liking and sharing our content. That is all for today. Cheers to your American Dream, and we'll see you next time.